And welcome back to VMworld Live. I'm John Troyer. I'm here right now with Paul Strong, VMware's CTO for EMEA. Paul, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
So Paul, CTO for EMEA, maybe talk a little bit about your background and what that role implies.
So my role is to be, it's basically two parts. VMware is obviously very much committed to EMEA, and part of that commitment is having a CTO role here. My role is about 50% is to really connect our customers, our partners, and our field organizations back with base, so to speak. So my role is to make sure that we understand and correctly communicate our strategy, our vision, where we're going with products, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. Also, from an inbound perspective, it's really to, from our customer perspective, is to help us bring their needs, their requirements, what they're doing back into the technology organization, into R&D, so that we can build better products that meet our customers' needs. So that's half of it. The other half of it, we have somewhere in the region of 500 developers in EMEA that are part of VMware. So it's not just an American or a Palo Alto-based organization. We have a whole group of people here who do everything from, around vCenter, around manageability, around Spring, and so forth. So it's to work with those organizations, the engineering organizations, and help with our strategy and direction and make sure we build the right things.
So now as you go out and talk to customers and talk to CIOs, at VMware here, we've been talking about this journey process, different stages, which was developed from talking to customers.
Right.
And as you are out and talking to them, and now we are talking a lot more about cloud computing and about IT as a service in the cloud. How is cloud impacting the business?
I think, so cloud is very exciting. So as a technology, it's actually enabling the business to do different things. So in many ways, cloud has been facilitated by a couple of technology trends, one of which is really an application trend. Over the last 20, 30 years, we've moved from a world where we have monolithic applications to a world of highly distributed applications and services. As those have been disaggregated, as we've moved away from these monolithic things to these disaggregated services actually end up being disaggregated business process. So when you tease apart the business processes, there become opportunities to outsource business processes, get them somewhere else, i.e. from the cloud, as platform services, as software as a service, as whatever. Now that opportunity then allows the business to reevaluate what its core differentiating value is, and to actually focus on that, on being competitive, on differentiating themselves from their competitors, rather than stuff that just isn't core to what they do. So that's what cloud enables a business to think differently about from a really fundamental sense. There's a big opportunity there. If you think about being an entrepreneur and generating businesses and new ideas and innovation, in the cloud world, all you need is the smart idea, which is the hard part. You need the ability to codify that in some sense and run it on the cloud or put it in the cloud. You need connectivity and you need a credit card. So there's very little investment in terms of getting stuff started and very little cost to getting it wrong.
Whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're actually an internal entrepreneur.
Absolutely. There's a wealth of opportunities there in terms of optimizing your business and really focusing on what makes you different and what makes you better, rather than all this ancillary rubbish that gets in the way and creates drag and makes it difficult to do stuff.
So as you're developing new processes and establishing what's your core business or not, it sounds like then IT takes on a slightly different role inside the business.
Yes, so there are a number of things that change with IT. One of the things is the traditional status quo that's been there for a long time between the business and IT, that doing new things is hard, being agile is hard, because IT has spent, it's very important that when your business depends on technology, that's always available, it's always there, that it's reliable. And so a static worldview, or having static infrastructure, has very much been, it's the other end of, speed is risk, change is risk. So people have tended to avoid it. What's happened with these cloud providers out there is that when they provide services, the business can sit there and say, why can't you do it fast enough to IT? Because I can go out to wherever, I can go to Amazon, I can go to Cloud X, Cloud Y, and I can get these services now. I can pay for them, pay by the drink. They can provision them instantly. All of this cool stuff, and they can ratchet it back when I don't need it anymore. And so the business now has a different set of expectations for IT. And they expect their IT organizations to be agile, to deliver minimum time to market time to money, time to value. So there is pressure on IT to be a really different organization. And from the perspective of technology, IT really has to discover its own true differentiating value, which is that the IT organization understands the business. They can map the business onto technology, whether that technology is inside the business and in the traditional sense, whether it's a private cloud, whether it's outside in a public cloud, whether it's outsourced or whatever. IT's true value to the business is making that translation and being able to map the business onto technology.
Well, as I talk to our cloud architects at VMware, I think they also echo that. They keep talking about how their roles are not really starting with the technology. It really is talking to the business process and trying to facilitate the business objectives.
Yes, it's all about the applications that serve the business needs. It's about the services. It's about delivering quality of service to the customer to maximize the monetization of those services. It's about maximizing the agility to the business so they can deliver new services faster to market to their customers, and doing that at all at the right price, which brings us back, I guess, to some of the core original values of VMware, right? Which is delivering efficient infrastructure that's agile and responsive. So we have all these core underpinnings that then serve these higher value things from the business's perspective.
So what does that mean for IT in general? Does IT change its very nature?
Yeah, so this is one of the other things. In many ways, I think of this as kind of like a perfect storm. You've got these things going out in terms of cloud, in terms of what, there are opportunities to change the business fundamentally. They're changing expectations on the IT departments and what they do. And then inside, the set of technologies that have enabled all of this stuff that's going on outside are fundamentally changing the face of IT and the IT organization itself. So virtualization is the classic case, and really where VMware has been very strong is, we've decoupled the application from the underlying platform, which is great. It allows us to do things around consolidation. But the other thing that's come with it is a toolkit that allows you to do things with relatively little friction, that you can provision things all the time and re-provision constantly. And this is something that's fundamentally important. If you want to be very agile and responsive to the business, or you want to respond to changing load, you need to be able to ratchet stuff up, move stuff around all the time, re-provision. So the world has moved from, you provision and you end up in a steady state, to the steady state is constant re-provisioning. But the other part of that is once you've encapsulated the application, we're also pulling together and aggregating the management, not just of the server on which the application runs, but on the networking and the storage. And once you do that, with this integrated management, you can actually simplify the underlying manageability of the thing. And organizationally, it challenges the IT department. The traditional silos of networking, of storage, and everything else start becoming blurred.
Right. Now that already happened. That's already happens just with
Yes.
virtualization. And the people that I work with, our virtualization customers and our channel partners, implementers, they already are not the network guy or the storage. They might have once been the storage guy or the network guy or the Windows guy. Now they're the virtualization expert. They're already spanning that. But the questions they often have, okay, now we move into a cloud world where some things are outsourced, some things are insourced. I still have the operational expertise, but how does that, for people with their IT careers, how should they be thinking about approaching them?
I think the way to think about this is some of the needs for in-depth diagnosis and that remain, but a lot of the skills are really about becoming more application and service-centric as opposed to just the technology. There'll always be a need for understanding the technology to some greater or lesser degree. But the tools are beginning to hide some of the complexity. And really, the value in many ways is in understanding the virtualization technologies, working with the virtualization technologies, and understanding the services and applications. I think it's always been a challenge within IT. Within the silos, one has always been very much focused on the technology, whereas the business really wants you to be focused on the services that deliver value.
I don't care how you do it, just deliver it.
Right, and I think now, the real opportunity is to up-level and focus on, so how do I deliver quality of service? How do I make sure that the delivery is consistent? Because it's about setting expectations and constantly meeting them. It's not that you have to be the fastest at some things. It's the fact that if you say you're going to do X, you do X, and then people are happy. So, I think a lot of it is refocusing on the service and the application.
Wow. I think, is the most fascinating part of what's happening in technology and IT. Like you said, it's a perfect storm. I'm glad that it's fun being at VMware and being a part of that, actually.
It's amazing, actually. I mean, this is why I joined. VMware is kind of in the eye of that perfect storm. We've been incredibly fortunate to have a great technology that's incredibly reliable underneath the hypervisor. And in some ways, you think of it when it first appeared, it was like, oh, this is a consolidation opportunity. But the act of encapsulating the application has given us a vast amount of opportunity in terms of lifecycle management, in terms of flexibility. We can do all of these wonderful things. And once you can move applications around and you can deploy them efficiently, then you can start thinking about really innovative things in the data center. Like, if I have my applications and my usage goes down, I could choose to move all my applications to a small part of the data center and only cool that instead of the whole of the rest of the data center. So it becomes much more efficient from an energy consumption perspective. I can move stuff around in response to changing customer demand. There's a great deal of agility that goes with it. I can encapsulate the application from the developer and push it through to QA and into production and manage that life cycle holistically. All great opportunities. As we break the walls between these silos, we get responsiveness, we get agility. The ticketing systems that used to be the main thing in a data center, where you'd hand over one ticket like a relay baton between the various groups. Well, the risk of dropping that baton kind of disappears in this world.
Much more flexible. Well, Paul, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Paul Strong, CTO for EMEA for VMware.
Thanks.